This video, created by the University of Missouri Agricultural Business and Policy Extension Program, provides introductory information on leasing land for renewable energy production. Liquid biofuels like ethanol and biodiesel come from plants that convert sunlight to crops that produce energy. In Missouri, plants used in liquid biofuel production grow on more than 1 million acres. Utility-scale wind and solar parks also use farmland to produce energy, providing one more connection between the agricultural economy and the energy economy. Windmills and solar panels convert wind and sunlight to renewable electricity energy. Missouri acreages involved in utility-scale wind and solar are small but growing. Renewable electricity is generated in rural areas and transmitted across rural areas. Expected expansion of renewable electricity sources will create farmland leasing opportunities to more Missouri landowners. These opportunities come with land use trade-offs. Energy leases are significantly more involved than leasing farmland for crops or pasture. Missouri's electricity is generated predominantly from burning coal. U.S. electricity is currently generated predominantly from burning natural gas, with wind and solar generation increasing. In surrounding states, Iowa produces most of its electricity from renewables, with Oklahoma and Kansas close behind. Wind farms in those states continue to grow. Missouri's production of electricity from wind is also growing, outpacing annual nuclear generation for the first time in 2022. Utility-scale solar farms, growing rapidly in some states, are just starting development in Missouri. Declining costs are driving the expansion of wind and solar electricity generation. This graph depicts the unsubsidized cost of new electricity generation from different sources. In many locations, utility-scale wind and solar generation facilities are now price competitive with combined cycle gas and coal plants. Electricity is generated, sold into the transmission grid, and then bought by a distribution utility before arriving at the final consumer. Customers pay electric bills to their utility, which may be an investor-owned utility, a city-owned utility, or a member-owned electric cooperative. Landowners may receive offers to lease land for wind or solar generation from one of these familiar utility players, but more likely, the offer will come from a development company. Development companies plan, permit, and build new wind or solar generation facilities that feed electrons into the grid that is run by the independent system operator. The nonprofit independent system operators, or ISOs, manage the regional transmission grids and the corresponding wholesale electricity markets. Missouri is a meeting spot for 2 ISOs, both of which have a long list of renewable projects seeking permission to connect to their grid. Missouri has a lot of solar and wind projects in the ISO's interconnect queue, but not all of these may be approved and built. This is because it often takes longer to get approvals, line up the grid connections and the power purchase agreements, and obtain project financing than it does to build a wind or solar farm. Wind and solar projects can be built relatively rapidly once all permits and contracts are in place. Wind leasing clusters on windy ridges, as this map of northwest Missouri shows. Different colors represent different wind farms. The newest wind farms typically deploy generators with larger capacity. Although wind farms stretch for miles, they take up relatively small amounts of land. Because of their height and siting, wind farms can be seen for miles but not impact many farmable acres. However, building access roads, cables, and bases may impact farming operations, compaction, and water management. Utility-scale solar farms are just starting to be built in Missouri. The published integrated resource plans of Missouri's investor-owned utilities indicate larger solar farms will be built in the next 5 to 10 years. These sites take up less space than wind farms, but exclude other uses of the land. Solar farms do not have the wide visual impact that wind farms have. However, changing land use from crop production to solar generation may be disquieting to neighbors. Per acre annualized lease rates from solar developers, may be significantly higher than annual lease rates for crop production.